Hello, welcome to the MeatRx Success Story Podcast. I'm Coach Tracy, and I'm here today with Jim and Lisa. It's so nice to have them. They're really excited to tell you all about their journey on the carnivore diet. So I'd like to say welcome and thank you for coming, Jim and Lisa.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us. We're honored.
Oh, we're so honored to have you too. I would like for you to start out by telling me what was your life like, your health conditions, and the foods that you ate prior to coming to carnivore.
So Lisa was always pretty low carb, but I was the typical athlete, runner, high carb lifestyle for many years. You know, I had a sweet tooth, loved my pasta and bread and all of that. But back in 2014 or so, we were hearing more and more about low carb diets and keto, and decided we wanted to try that, especially being ultra runners. When you're out there for a couple of days, sometimes doing long distance events, you had to eat constantly, and that just didn't play well with the digestive issues and that sort of thing. So we made the move to a keto diet back around 2014 or 15, and have sort of been refining that ever since. Maybe 2 years ago, we started with some intermittent fasting as well. But still, one of the things that I think we both noticed was that eating all these vegetables, and we ate a lot of vegetables, you know, big salads and cooked vegetables every night, and then you get up to run in the morning, and sometimes it took quite a while to get out of the bathroom and not have any surprises out on the run. And that was really a big issue. A lot of bloating, you know, digestive, gastrointestinal issues. And of course, we all knew you have to eat vegetables to be healthy. And we're starting to really question that, and hearing more and more about it, because we read a lot, you know, listen to podcasts, try and stay on top of what's the newest in health. And so finally we decided it would be time to move to carnivore a little bit and see if that actually worked for us. So low carb before this, but we did eat a lot of vegetables. And about December of last year, 2020, we made the move to carnivore.
So a couple of things. So I was a typical woman, restricting my whole life. I had a weight issue in college. My weight's always been up and down. I was always one of those people, I was either restricting or binging. I was never holding my own. I did excessive exercise, excessive restricting. I was always like counting calories and like watching what I ate. So I was low carb, low fat, and lots of diet sodas, lots of artificial sweeteners. I also have talked about this elsewhere, that I've suffered from depression. And that was another reason that I chose to go keto, with intermittent fasting, adding in the good fats for my mental health. But Jim, when I first met him, he was like the chip man. Like, he would get hangry. Like, if he didn't eat every 2 hours, he was very that cranky boy. And he would be the kind of man that would come home and would have to eat like a bowl of chips while dinner was cooking. And he had to eat like all the time. And I remember like planning our adventures that where Jim could eat. And we went out to Colorado to help at the Hard Rock 100. It's an ultra event. And we met some elite athletes that were doing keto. And we were in our mid-50s. And when you are very active, you are sore a lot of the time. And we had like the achy knees, and we had the fatigue. And Jim, the reason we went to it, because he's very slender. I've always struggled with my weight, especially premenopausal, now postmenopausal. But he actually suggested it for us as a way to reduce inflammation. So the thing that brought us into the low carb world was inflammation reduction. Then when we did our research, Alzheimer's, inflammation, diabetes, mental health, bipolar, inflammation in the brain. So the more we learned, the more things added up that like, this is probably a better way to live.
Yeah, that's right. Inflammation was a big part of that. Immediately after going low carb, I felt a great improvement, reduction in the inflammation, improvement in sleep. And I think when we went carnivore, that just took it even to another level. It's kind of like keto on steroids for me, being carnivore now.
So how was your keto lifestyle? Was it different than, I mean, I just, sometimes there's different kinds of keto, whether you have fat bombs and all these different things.
Yeah, we didn't really do that a lot, but we did eat a lot of vegetable-based meals, and with a good amount of fat.
We ate mainly whole foods.
Yeah.
So basically, the way we would describe keto to our friends who would challenge us is we ate whole foods, okay? And we didn't eat any like white things, no sugar, no grains. So we ate Brussels sprouts, we ate broccoli, we ate humongous salads, tomatoes, things like that. And then I noticed when I ate tomatoes, I would get like these sores on my tongue. And so I did pretty well going through my menopause, but then with, we had a big life change. We moved from upstate New York to now we're in Southern Arizona, and we got married and we bought 2 houses and blah, 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 blah. And then I was getting like all this bloating. So basically I said, I'm just going to try carnivore. I'm going to give up vegetables, just do an experiment, do like an elimination. And my wonderful husband is like, hey, that sounds cool. I will support you. And here we are.
Yeah.
Wow. So how did you hear this carnivore diet? Did you hear about it in the
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, we spent a lot of time reading, listening to podcasts. I've been interested in nutrition for literally decades. I almost went into nutrition science as a career. But so we've always been interested in what we could do to, promote health and have the healthiest lives we could. So I guess with our internet age, being able to read and watch so much and listen to podcasts, we both listen to a lot of podcasts. We spent a lot of time as ultra runners. We're out on the trails, hiking and running a lot. So you have a lot of time to kill. And so listening to a lot of podcasts, you started to hear more and more about it. And Lisa was the one who said, let's just try this.
Yeah, so I think I stumbled on Dr. Ken Berry, and I listened to Scott on the Carnivore cast, and I found Amber on the Lone Star Keto. And, once you find one, you keep finding. And then, I'm an intermittent faster, and I follow a lot of people who intermittent fast. And I was in one of the Facebook communities for intermittent fasting, Tiffany Henschel. And one of the women that leads the group was having a lot of health issues. So she went from low carb to carnivore. And I think she was the one that got me thinking, maybe that will work for me, because she also had a lot of anxiety and depression, which I have. And I'm always like, I'm fine, but I'm always looking to be the best I can be.
Yes. Yes. So did you start out with beef or?
Sorry, you broke up a little there.
Did we start out with beef?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd say we started out with beef quite a bit,
Yeah, no, I think we did start with beef. So we had already gone to grass-fed beef when we were doing our keto, and we tried to buy locally sourced meat. When we lived in New York, we had a local place that we bought our meat from, and then we found a place here in Tucson that is all locally sourced, grass-fed, and we just bought a whole cow. We bought an extra freezer. We're doing nose to tail, and we're doing like the liver, we're doing the bone broth. So yes, in your answer to your question, we did start with mainly beef. Jim eats eggs. I eat like a little eggs, and we had a little fish, but we were basically, for me, I was like craving beef. Like once I dropped the vegetables, like I was dreaming about beef. Like honestly, like I just, I was an intermittent faster, but I sort of, lengthened my eating window a little bit when I went full on carnivore. And I just was like, and the more beef I ate, the happier I felt. Honestly, it was like I could feel a shift occurring.
Wow, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Did you include dairy? Did your thing change? I think we're getting feedback.
Yeah. Sorry, try that again.
Oh, I just said, did you include cheese or any kind of cheese?
So I do some dairy. I do enjoy my cheese. I eliminated it for a while to see if maybe there were some negative effects I wasn't aware of, and I didn't feel like I experienced any noticeable changes there. Maybe if I was looking at my blood work with and without dairy, I'd see some differences or other markers, but I feel like I tolerate dairy pretty well. That said, I have tried to move more towards A2 dairy, goat milk, cheese and yogurt, that sort of thing. But I do enjoy my dairy a lot, and I definitely include some. I also include a lot more eggs these days, egg yolks mainly. Pretty common for me to make a 6 or 8 egg yolk omelet. Just love it. It's fantastic.
And then I like the whites.
Yeah, she has the whites.
Yeah. So my husband has always been very slender, and he's 61, but he was concerned about his cholesterol because the typical lab work. So Jim, can you talk about that? Because you've been really diving into that. And I think a lot of people say, oh, I can't do keto. My doctor said my cholesterol is too high. And we're like, excuse me. So I just want to mention my husband is a PhD scientist. He worked in weather and water. He's a big smarty pants, and he knows about data, and he knows about accurate studies. So he's not an MD, but he is a PhD and he is a doctor. So this is what he has discovered.
Well, so what was very interesting was I had blood work done in New York in 2019 before we moved out here. And we've been keto for a long time then. For many years, my cholesterol had been creeping up just a little, total cholesterol, LDL was a little higher than the traditional doctors would really like, but it wasn't a big deal. Even my doctor in New York didn't have a big concern with it. So that was mid 2019, the last blood work. Then I didn't have blood work done here in Arizona until a few months ago, probably 3 months, 4 months after we started Carnivore.
That's right.
And I became one of those lean mass hyper responders where my total cholesterol went way up to about 330. My LDL was about 240, but my other markers were great. My inflammation markers were excellent, low fasting glucose, low triglycerides, high HDL, the classic response. So at first I was a little like, oh, this is interesting. I'd heard about that type of response. I had not seen it before, even though we'd been keto for many years, and I wasn't seeing that sort of a response. Whether it was the carnivore that did it, or maybe the time we've been in Arizona full-time and retired, been cooking a lot more. I think cooking a lot more rich when we were still eating keto, cooking with a lot more cream and cheese and eggs and stuff than we previously ate. But so somewhere in there, something happened to push my numbers way up. And that prompted me to do a little more research. And rather than feel like, maybe I better do something to get these numbers back down, I now feel like I'm as healthier than the average person. I'm metabolically healthy as indicated by triglycerides and HDL levels and the ratio there. And what I believe, after listening to some of the alternative researchers in this field, is that my high LDL, given the good metabolic health markers, is extremely protective and healthy, and not the opposite. I feel like we have this so wrong, and there's this giant echo chamber out there in the cardiac community and the general health community. And I don't know how we break that cycle, but we need to break that cycle. Everybody, all they talk about is, oh my God, my cholesterol is going up. And it's so important for us.
And they want to put you on statins.
Oh yeah.
So that's another whole can of worms. So we have many friends who are like, oh, I want to do keto with my cholesterol. So Jim tries to explain it to them, but they're like, well, they don't want to hear it. But we have data, we have MDs that have studied this, and we're collecting some information, and Jim is going to maybe put up a website or something, because we're really concerned about the misinformation about cholesterol. I'm sorry, and I'm a post-menopausal woman. Cholesterol is my friend, so it's like we're just concerned about the old dogma being repeated, and that doesn't make it true. Yeah,
it's just frustrating. Once you're inside the carnivore community or even the low carb community, we all understand that this is okay, but if you're outside it in more mainstream diet communities, they just don't get that message. And it's so frustrating, because we could radically change the state of public health in this country if we could get that message out to people. But, we're follow the money, we're stuck in it with all the medical guidelines, the American Heart Association, all these organizations that refuse to look at the science objectively and say, yeah, we've been wrong all these years. And then big food, big pharma, they all have a big stake in this as well. So,
So I want to mention a couple of the health benefits we've had, just even going from keto to carnivore, because I think this is important, because I was one of those people I'm like, oh my God, like, don't eat vegetables. Like, how could you not eat vegetables? And, you know, I do take one supplement. I take magnesium.
yeah,
And so does Jim. And I was taking some calcium because I broke my arm. I'm doing fine. But we've had so many health benefits, but Jim had tinnitus. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
The ringing in his ears. And it's been getting better and better and better.
So this is really
So this is
remarkable.
since he stopped eating vegetables. So he's had it for like 20 years, and
20,
now he almost
40.
doesn't have it at all.
Yeah.
So this is.
So I've never read anything to link these, but it's just very interesting that since we went carnivore, at about, I'd say 2 to 3 months after going carnivore, after probably 30 plus years of having pretty severe ringing in one ear, it's virtually gone. I've made no other lifestyle changes. I have to think that it's somehow related to the carnivore diet, whether it's something promoted by eating so much meat or something by taking away the vegetables and the oxalates and all that. I don't know. And I can't find anything, can't find any other similar experiences with this, but it has certainly been a noticeable difference to me. So.
I actually have heard of it from another.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put that out. So for me, the benefits, every day I'm noticing new things. So I had a lot of bloating. Like, I was one of those people, like, I would start out in the morning, my stomach would be flat. And as the day went on, I swear, it would go like this. Like, if I wore a belt, my stomach would expand. Even when I went keto, even without the carbs. And then when I went carnivore, my stomach and felt so much better. I was like, I had a lot of acid reflux, that's going away, and I was gassy all the time. My energy is really consistent. My sleep is good. I was struggling with my running a little bit prior, and now I feel like my endurance is improving. I broke my arm a little over 3 weeks ago. I had a bad fall. I was on a elliptical and I made a wrong turn and I dove into the ground, and I broke the humerus where it connects here. So I'm 3.5 weeks out. The pain is gone. The pain is gone from the break. It was excruciating. And I went for a repeat x-ray and I'm healing. I'm healing, like every day I feel the healing. And I really, really think it's the carnivore plus the intermittent fasting is helping my body to repair.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. I love hearing success.
Okay, and can we talk about sex? I mean, I really want to talk about this, okay? So, talk about sex. So I'm a post-menopausal woman. Many women my age have issues with vaginal dryness, blah, 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 blah. So I did take some topical estrogen for a while, but it was making me crazy. It was making me like have hot flashes. So since I've been the keto help, but then when I went carnivore, I'm like a 30-year-old. And this guy, testosterone, hello, you see these arms? He's like a college age boy. Let's just say that. The men out there, if you want to be a vegan, yay, but you want to have a little vim and vigor, meat.
Well, it was interesting that, so we moved out here a year and a half ago, and I just recently, when I got the blood work done that showed my elevated cholesterol and stuff, that was all with a new doctor. And my testosterone levels were really high. And he looked at those, he said, are you doing something like supplementing or what's going on here? So that was quite interesting to.
And the love of a good woman.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I don't think that everyone in your house needs to be carnivore in order to succeed, because I know I really believe in bio individuality when it comes to diet. Like, there are people who are carnivore that eat some vegetables or maybe eat some honey or maybe a potato now and then. But basically, you need everyone in your household to at least be supportive. Okay, now for us, we're very fortunate we're doing it together, and it does make it a lot easier. It doesn't have to be. Like, Jim eats a few more carbs than I do. He eats some apricots and some things like that. But you know, we have a very amazing marriage. It's a second marriage. We're both runners. We have philosophically, we're very aligned, but it's really nice that we're aligned philosophically when it comes to our nutrition. It makes life so much more pleasant.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, we lost.
Uh-oh, we lost the audio.
Do you have any questions for us, Tracy? Like any common things you think people might want to hear?
I think you have covered so much.
Good.
If you have any final thoughts, encouragement for someone to come to this lifestyle, you could maybe say something.
Final thoughts? Yeah, so my final thought is, it's not a big deal. Like Jim is a researcher, but basically you want to try it. You just like, you have to do it forever. Like you're not married to it. You're not like in a ball and chain. You could say, I'm going to try carnivore for a month. I'm going to cut out vegetables and just eat meat and drink water. And then if it's working for you, maybe go 2 to 3 months. And if you don't like it, nobody's telling you can't go have some Brussels sprouts. You know, it's not like you're like chained. And some people, they don't know how poorly they're feeling until they start feeling better. And so that's the main thing I would say. Like, if you're like, I'm okay, but I'm not great, then maybe you want to like adjust. Because for me, I thought I was doing just fine. And then when I went to carnivore, I was like, whoa. So that's just my recommendation. Oh, and one more thing. I do suffer from clinical depression, and this has been really helpful. It's not the only thing I do. I'm not against medication, but this has really, truly helped my anxiety, my depression. I'm actually going to be on a podcast with Amber. She did a mental health panel where we talk about mental health and the benefits of carnivore. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so, well, I would agree with everything you said. And also the idea of individuality. I do eat a few more carbs. I found that when I was closer to 0 carb, I felt better after going carnivore, but something seemed not quite right. I added a few carbs back in, mostly through some berries, some honey. I love my dried apricots. You know, I'll have a handful of dried apricots every day. It didn't take a lot. I'm under 50 grams of net carbs most days, but just adding that little bit back in made a big difference to me. I'm sleeping better, you know, and I can see from tracking my food, which I did about a year ago for a month or two, and I did it again recently. Basically on carnivore, my protein percentage doubled, and I was down to a much lower percent of fat in my diet. And I took the protein down a little, pushed the fat back up a little, and added just a little more carbs in, and that made a big difference. So I think if you're going to try carnivore, be open to doing your own version of it, and finding what works for you. So,
Yeah, you don't have to be militant about it.
Right.
You know, you can be, carnivore means you're eating mainly meat, basically, right?
Animal-based.
I'm eating only meat, but that's me because that works for me because I was very metabolically challenged and I have a lot of issues, but it's working. It's helping me a lot.
Yeah, it's a great way to live.
You guys look so healthy. I know that you're doing well with it. And I sure thank you for coming through with everybody, because it's so helpful to those that are searching for problems, health problems especially.
Yes, thank you so much for having us. We're honored. And you can find me on Amber, the Lone Star Keto Girl. She interviewed me for a mental health panel. And I have my own podcast called Bending the Trail with Lisa Gillick. And we're happy to share. If anybody wants to private message us, we are happy to help. Happy. We're not MDs, but we know from our own anecdotal experience.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.